let's go kick it off. So Nate, we're gonna start going 10 through 6.
Yep.
All right, you want to say yours, your 10, then I'll say my 10.
Yeah, I'll start with my 10 through 6 here.
Okay.
At 10, I got Matthew Golden,
Okay.
rookie to the Green Bay Packers. I have at 9, Xavier Worthy, wide receiver for the Chiefs. Ahead of Xavier Worthy at 8, I have Emeka Egbuka. At 7, I got Travis Hunter, and at 6, I got Rome Odunze. So that is my back half of my top 10 there, Mike. Matthew Golden, moving from 10 to 6, Matthew Golden, Xavier Worthy, Emeka Egbuka, Travis Hunter, Rome Odunze.
All right, so let's keep wiping back to front as we're doing here, going from 10 to 1. And I'll go with mine. So we got Matthew Golden at 10 for the Green Bay Packers. I have Luther Burden III for the Chicago Bears at number 9. Mika Egbuka from the Bears. I'm sorry, the Buccaneers, my apologies, at number 8. I also have Travis Hunter at number 7. And then at number 6, I have Lab McConkey of the Los Angeles Chargers. Sitting pretty there.
All right. All right, yeah. Mike, first thing that comes to mind. Now we can go through each player. But first thing that comes to mind here, I'll skip ahead to my number 9, Xavier Worthy. You don't have him, spoiler alert, in your top 10.
I do not. That is correct. I like Xavier Worthy. I'm going to tell you why. It's not that I don't like him. There's just other guys I'd probably rather build my team around than a player like Xavier Worthy. We saw some flashes, but there seemed to be time. He had ample opportunity with Rashee Rice being out. And I feel as though there were times he really had to be schemed to do anything super productive. Whereas a player like his teammate Rashee Rice, when he's healthy, he's on the field. He's a guy you could just leave out there. He's going to win one-on-ones. He's going to be able to beat lots of different coverages. And while I do think Xavier Worthy does have a bright future, for me right now, he's not in my top 10. I just feel like a guy like Luther Burden, if you scheme him, he's probably going to be a little more productive for you. Not as fast, but a little bit more slippery, in my opinion.
All right, that's a bold take, Mike. I think you're going to get some flack for that one in the comments. Xavier Worthy put up, including playoffs, 78 receptions, 925 yards, and 9 touchdowns.
Let's take pretty impressive rookie season out of it, though, because we do not play fantasy football during the playoffs. You may play DFS, but
in the regular season, 59 receptions, 638 yards, 6 touchdowns. He did have a good playoff run, though, which does matter unless you're Gabe Davis, and then it just gets everyone excited to draft you.
Can you look and see what he did in Super Bowl 59?
He had a pretty good Super Bowl in garbage time, nonetheless. He did have 8 receptions for 157 yards and 2 touchdowns in that game.
Interesting. They actually had his touchdown catch as one of the highlights of that Super Bowl. And I was like, yeah, that was against Tristan McCullum, who is our third-string safety. So,
yeah, I mean, 6.7 yak rec. I have him at 9, and quite honestly, to have Egbuka over him, I think is kind of a bold take. I think it's probably more consensus to have Worthy at 8 on this list.
I disagree. I do think Egbuka is a better route runner.
I do as well. I think Egbuka can walk in, especially with Chris Godwin probably not being healthy week 1. I think Egbuka can walk in and probably have pretty similar production to Worthy, like right away, which is why I have Egbuka ranked over him, especially on a team where with the Buccaneers, they're going to be throwing the ball a lot. We know Baker Mayfield's led the league in passing touchdowns over the past 2 years, most passing touchdowns over that time. He's going to throw the ball. He was second in most passing yards over that time the last 2 years, only behind Jared Goff. So Baker Mayfield's going to throw the ball. Mike Evans, a year older. Chris Godwin coming off the injury. Egbuka can step right in. I'm really, really high on Egbuka. I'd love to put him high on this list. There's just a lot of wide receiver talent over the past 2 years. So I got Matthew Golden, who I know might be considered the wide receiver 1 for the Packers once we get there, but Mike, you and I have talked about it. He spreads the ball around a lot, Jordan Love.
He does.
So even if Matthew Golden is the wide receiver 1 over there, I don't think he's going to be a top 24 wide receiver his rookie year. I think he could be a wide receiver 3 his rookie year if he does get a good amount of targets there. But I'm not even relying on that because of how much they might spread the ball around. Xavier Worthy, I do like him. I took a chance on him in my Scott Fish Bowl team because he was just dropping down the board. I am worried about when Rashee Rice comes back. I'm also a little bit worried about this Chiefs offense. They haven't looked they've looked anemic over the past couple of years. This is not the Patrick Mahomes throwing 50 touchdowns anymore. No. This is a very different offense. I think they want to get back to that, but they haven't been able to yet. They kind of limped through last year, and it's crazy to say that because they were still one of the best teams on a win-loss record. But they kind of limped through last year, a very defensive team as well. at times last year. So with Worthy, I think there's still a lot of upside there, but Rashee Rice comes back. Kelsey's back for another year and looking lean apparently. But then Ibuka, like I said, I love his production right off the bat. I'm expecting big things from him. Mike, we've talked about Matthew Golden a little bit. If you want to say anything about Matthew Golden, go ahead. Otherwise, let me hear you talk about Luther Burden a bit more.
No, I do agree with everything you said. And I do want to say you're talking about this isn't the Patrick Mahomes we're used to seeing. 27 touchdown passes in 23 and 26 last year. So
yeah,
definitely curious. Kelsey just seems to be his number one target a lot of times, although he took a slight step back. I do think he's going to have another solid season this year. But I know there's a lot of players out there in Chicago. I got to say, I like what the Bears are doing. I think it's great. And for all you long-suffering Bears fans, this has got to be overdue. Although I'm not a Bears fan, that's a team I hate seeing struggle just because it's such a storied franchise. I want to see the Bears be good, man. I really do. I think Luther Burden is going to be a big part of that too. Like I said before, he's a guy that, unlike Xavier Worthy, I feel like you could scheme everywhere. Not as strong of a runner on sweep, jet sweeps, all that stuff as Xavier Worthy is, I don't feel. But I feel like he fights for more yardage after the catch. Xavier Worthy, to me, is a player that relies more on speed. Luther Burden certainly has the speed. He also has the elusiveness and physicality to, in my opinion, just be a bet. Maybe the stats aren't there right away, but I just feel like long-term he could end up being a better player. To me, Xavier Worthy reminds me a lot of a guy like Josh Downs, a guy that everybody loves, but could be a little hit or miss depending on the week.
Yeah, I definitely get the weekly inconsistency question with Worthy. He's kind of a guy that, is he just a big play guy, especially once Rashee Rice comes back in and really takes over that intermediate area of the field again? Rashee Rice was such a chain mover for that team. He's coming off the injury. I don't know what the suspension looks like. No one knows with the NFL these days what they're going to do disciplinary wise. So
he plays for the Chiefs, so probably nothing, to be honest with you.
At worst, it's probably 4 games at worst. I can't see it being more than that. Maybe it's just 2 games. So on a big picture basis, it doesn't really matter that much. If Xavier Worthy has 4 games, that Rashee Rice is not going to change my dynasty outlook on him.
I do want to say one more thing about Luther Burden. I know a lot of people are going to say, he'll be the wide receiver 3 there. And let's not forget, Caleb Williams, a guy who was heralded as a generational talent. There were many years where Tyler Boyd was the wide receiver 3 in Cincinnati, putting up quite respectable numbers. So it could certainly happen. He's currently behind Olamide Zaccheaus on the depth chart, but it's July. A lot of things can happen between now and September. Let's just hope he's not the next Malachi Corley. That's the only thing.
That would be no fun for anybody. I think my one worry with Luther Burden, who did not make it in my top 10 here. I think there is a lot of competition for targets on that Bears offense, not just because of DJ Moore and Rome Odunze, but they also drafted Colson Loveland in the first round.
They did.
And they got Cole Kmet there as well, who, still will probably get 30 targets, 40 targets on the year. But, getting the first round investment in Loveland means that I expect him to be the 3rd wide receiver of the team, which puts Burden at 4. Now, maybe long-term, maybe they move on from DJ Moore. He's only 28 years old, I believe. So, and they signed him to extension before last season. So he's still got some time on the team. I'm a big fan of Rome Odunze, who I have here at 6 over Travis Hunter, which I think you can kind of go back and forth with these 2 guys too. As we've gotten closer to the season, Travis Hunter, I hear more and more that the Jaguars, there was a report, I can't remember who dropped it, but it was a major podcast for football. And they talked about how Travis Hunter sounds like his usage is going to depend on the week and the game plan for the team they're playing, what injuries look like. They're not necessarily looking to have him be in one role the entire season. Like, hey, this is going to be, 80%, wide receiver, 80% cornerback snaps on both sides. They might be, a lot more wide receiver one week, less cornerback, and the other week, more cornerback, less wide receiver. So just as much as I love the talent with Travis Hunter, Brian Thomas Jr. is there. There's this confusion about what role he's going to play. They also said, he's more natural at cornerback, so they want him to take more wide receiver snaps. Should I be worried that he can't maybe step into a wide receiver role right away? I'm not really, but there's just a couple question marks there. As good of a talent as he is, just kind of around his role.
Yeah.
That I'm keeping him at 7 right now behind Rome Odunze, who I loved last year, and I think is going to be a huge benefactor of this new offense in Chicago with Ben Johnson.
Yeah. No, I can see that for sure. Interesting to see exactly how it's going to shake down for Travis Hunter.
Yeah, and you
I'm
have
excited.
Travis Hunter at 7 as well.
Yeah, I do. I like him a lot, and I know a lot of speculations going around about his usage and everything like that, and we're hearing a lot of things, but we've all heard coach speak before. I've heard as an Eagles fan, I've heard every year we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and then when the season starts and push comes to shove, and I'm sure you've heard it as a Ravens fan too, and everyone else of fans of your respective team, when the playing starts, it's just what the fans kind of thought it was going to be, right?
Yeah.
So.
Yep. Mike, you do have to defend yourself here, though. You have Ladd McConkey
I do.
at 6. He's not even in your top 5. And Ladd McConkey had one of the best rookie seasons we've seen recently. There has been some better ones, but just in the regular season, because we're not going to give you post-game stats, even though, Mike, I just want to mention he did have 9 receptions for 197 yards and a touchdown in the postseason against Houston, which I believe is a rookie record in the playoffs. But outside of that, he did have 82 receptions, 1,149 yards, and 7 touchdowns. And you got him at 6.
I do, yeah. It's also a pretty stacked list here. There's a lot of guys ahead of him that I just feel can be strong alpha wide receivers. There's nothing against Ladd McConkey. There's just guys that I personally like a little bit better.
Are you worried about target competition? I know you're a big Trey Harris fan.
I'm a Trey Harris fan. I don't think Trey Harris takes anything away from Ladd McConkey. Also, I did see, I think the Chargers today put Mike Williams on the pup, which
I did see that. Yep.
Shocker. One of the things that you said to me earlier in the offseason, you expect the Chargers to run the ball a lot more. And I could agree. Najee Harris is there. Najee Harris is a solid, reliable back. They go to Marion Hampton. They got, Quentin Johnston. Maybe he comes out and has a really good season. He didn't have a bad season last year. They did draft Trey Harris as well. So I could see his volume going down, but his efficiency going up, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think Quentin Johnston's actually a decent little post type sleeper at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not ready to just crown him. Who else do they got there? Let me bring up the Los Angeles Chargers. Should be the San Diego Chargers depth chart. What they have in the tight end room? Their tight end room leaves
Tyler Conklin. I'm a big fan of Conklin. He's had 50 plus receptions the last 3 years. He's a good little tight end too.
Will Disley is there. You know who I'd love to see on the Chargers? I know this is going to sound weird. I think Noah Fant would be really good for the Chargers. Get him out of Seattle. We
already got him out of Denver, and then we got to keep getting him out of places. Maybe he's the problem.
Maybe. I don't know. They have Keandre Lambert-Smith, Jalen Reagor, Brendan Rice there as well. Oh, my old friend Des Patrick.
Man, they had to get Quentin Johnston's little friend TCU busts. The two of them.
Yeah, how about it? So, Nate, anything else you want to discuss before we move on from our bottom 5?
Nope, and I feel like it's bad to say that they're the bottom 5, but they're the bottom 5 of the top 10, so they're still really good. I mean, there's still some wide receivers who didn't make this list. For me, Luther Burden didn't make my list, but there are still some good wide receivers outside of this top 10 we don't get to talk about.
Nate, let's continue going with our top 5 now. Give me your 5 through 1.
All right. At 5, I have rookie Tet McMillan, wide receiver for the Panthers. Going to be Bryce Young as number 1. At number 4, I got Marvin Harrison Jr. over the Cardinals from last year. Number 3, I got Ladd McConkey. Number 2, I have Brian Thomas Jr. And at number 1, I have some who herald him as the wide receiver 1 in all of Dynasty due to youth. I have number 1 here, Malik Neighbors.
Okay. We'll talk about that in a second. Let me give you guys my 5 through 1. I got Rome Odunze, Tet McMillan, Marvin Harrison Jr. at 3, Brian Thomas Jr. at 2, and Malik Neighbors at 1. Let's start at the top. Malik Neighbors, number 1 receiver in Dynasty. I don't know. I think right now I'd still rather have like Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson over him personally. That's nothing against Malik Neighbors, but
so Justin Jefferson, I think he's got a year or 2 on Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase is 25. Justin Jefferson is 26. Just turned 26, actually.
Happy birthday.
And Malik Neighbors is 21.9. He actually is turning 22 in 2 weeks as of today. 2 weeks from today. He'll be 22 years old. So, he's got 3 years on Chase. He did put up 109 receptions last year, 1,200 yards, 7 touchdowns. Looked like an absolute stud out there. Multiple games with double-digit targets. Doesn't really have a lot of added competition moving forward. If you think he's the next Justin Jefferson, the next Jamar Chase, that kind of talent, you get 3 years younger. I can understand it. I think, if I'm in a startup, I don't hate it. If I'm already a team competing, I think I want Justin Jefferson to Jamar Chase, but I'm a little worried about the Giants figuring out the quarterback position. We talked about it when Jackson Dart got drafted. Drafting a guy at the back end of the first half is not going to necessarily always save your franchise. It's already hard enough to hit on quarterback in the top 5, top 10. When you get to the back half of the first round, you have kind of a conglomerate there: Russell Wilson, Jameis Winston, and Jackson Dart, who we'll see if he sits the whole year or not. You got Brian DeBall, who just kind of is trying to save his job right now with that pick. Same with the GM over there. I mean, if it doesn't work out this year, are they fired? Do they get another year with Jackson Dart to try to turn it all around one more time? I'm not sure. I don't love the trajectory of the Giants, to be honest. They kind of feel stuck in no man's land. They probably should have moved on from their GM and coach this past offseason and just started afresh. But
I agree.
Here we are. So that's some of the worries with Malik Neighbors, despite him looking incredible so far and being, rather young.
The talent's there. The opportunity's there. There's some questions that are just beyond his control, obviously. Yeah. So.
And we have some questions about Justin Jefferson too. I mean, we know Kevin O'Connell is a really good coach, and he's going to, he's a quarterback whisperer. So we have less questions there with JJ McCarthy than we do with the Giants, of course. But then Jamar Chase, who, probably is the wide receiver 1 because he's a little bit younger than Jefferson, and he's got Joe Burrow throwing to him. So we know that Chase is locked up with Burrow for quite a while, and they're going to be getting lots of fantasy points for the next 5-10 years.
Yeah, for sure. Let's go to number 2 now. We both have Brian Thomas Jr. I think Travis Hunter there helps him, doesn't hurt him, in my opinion.
Yeah. I think it might limit his ceiling a little bit. He's not going to get necessarily the target share that, he might have gotten at the end of last season when Christian Kirk was hurt. They didn't have much of an offense. They were just kind of, the last 6 games of the season last year, he saw at least 10 targets in every single one. Before the last 6 games there, he hadn't seen 10 targets in any game. So, that offense did have to really figure it out at the end of the year with Trevor Lawrence getting hurt. Like I said, Christian Kirk getting hurt. I mean, they were a failing team at the end. So I'm interested to see what they look like when they're, all settled again. They have a form here, but we got Liam Cohen as the coach there, who wasn't, killing it with the Buccaneers last year. So I don't think Brian Thomas Jr. can really do too much worse. I think he, will continue to be a top 12 wide receiver, but maybe with Travis Hunter there, maybe he's not capable of hitting that Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson. But then again, hey, Jamar Chase is Jamar Chase with T. Higgins next to him. So what do I know?
Yeah, and Brian Thomas Jr. last year finished as wide receiver 4. We got 87 catches, 1,282 yards, and 10 touchdowns. Hey, here's another guy rounding out. What about Amon-Ra St. Brown? Would you take him over Malik Neighbors? I mean, not that old. He was wide receiver 3 last year.
No, I'm a little worried about the Lions. Amon-Ra, his numbers went down compared to the year before. In a number of ways. He saw less targets last year than he saw the year before that, about 2 less per game, I believe. And that kind of happened with the Jameson Williams breakout that we saw last year. He finally was the wide receiver that they wanted to draft when they drafted him in the first round. St. Brown's still a really, really good receiver, someone that, I'd want on my team. But I would have Brian Thomas over him just because I think with the decline in some of the numbers and volume last year and the fact that, Ben Johnson's no longer the offensive coordinator there, I think Dan Campbell's going to do just fine, but he's losing both of his coordinators. I expect the Lions to regress this year. It's really tough to say that because, everyone wants to root for the Lions. Everyone wants to root for Dan Campbell, but losing both your coordinators, that is really hard to overcome. And I don't want to say like their window's definitely not shut or anything, but last year was their best year to win it, and injuries just kept piling up. Yeah. I'm expecting some regression this year.
Yeah, makes sense. Then you had Ladd at 3. I have Marvin Harrison Jr., and I know Marvin Harrison Jr. didn't do what everyone kind of expected him to do last year, but Don't have his stats right off the top of my head. I will get that for you in a moment.
I got it for you right here, Mike. 62 receptions, 885 yards, and 8 touchdowns.
Which isn't bad considering correct me if I'm wrong, Kyler Murray was coming off an injury. Was he not? Or was that the year before?
I think it might have been the year before.
Okay. Still shaking some of that injury rust off. We'll give it that. But still, over 800 yards as a rookie wide receiver. I know it's not over 1,000, but I'm not going to, you know what I mean?
Still a good rookie year. We've just seen so many good rookie years recently that we were just like, oh, Marvin Harrison's going to catch 120 catches for 1,500 yards and 20 touchdowns. We just, placed the highest expectations on these guys. And, that's still a pretty good season. Not quite Ladd McConkey kind of season, though.
You want to talk about Ladd?
You
mentioned him briefly before, but go on.
I would love to. Now, I do struggle with this spot because I did put him at 3 over Marvin Harrison Jr. It could very easily flip after this season with Marvin Harrison jumping to 3. So, Mike, I'm fine with you having Marvin Harrison Jr. at 3. I still think you're a little low on Ladd, having him below Rome Odunze and even possibly McMillan. I could see the argument for having it at 5. On your list above Rome Odunze, but still below neighbors Thomas, Harrison, and McMillan. Because I think McMillan, we'll get to that in a second, he's going to have a lot of volume over there with the Panthers. Marvin Harrison, I think, does have a higher ceiling just because of his athleticism, his physicality, his size. But Ladd McConkey is also very physical after the catch, and some guy that's, I hate to say he's scrappy, but he's a little scrappy. He's out there with 4.8 yards after the catch per reception, and he's a hard guy to tackle. He plays really hard. He's got some really long touchdowns, too. He's really fast out there. And I do have some worries about the Chargers throwing the ball, how many receptions going to be good for. But he catches a lot of the passes he gets thrown because of how he is used. So he doesn't need insane volume. He's not going to catch 60% of the passes thrown his way. Last year, he caught 75% just about. So, a lot of the balls that are getting thrown his way are high percentage catch passes. He's catching them. He had 82 last year as a rookie. I don't know if that offense will support him getting 100-plus receptions, but I can't imagine he's going to get much less than 82 or so per year. I expect his 14 yards per reception to, stay there. So I don't know how much more higher Ladd McConkey can go in that offense. I think he has the talent level to go higher, but I think just the style of offense they want to play is kind of limiting him. But I don't think he can go much farther down either. So I think he has a really nice floor. Still has some upside depending on, what that defense looks like. If the defense isn't very good, they were one of the best defenses last year, and he still put up these numbers. So if that defense regresses at all and they get into a couple more shootouts, there is some potential for him there. Meanwhile, Marvin Harrison Jr., that's a guy that maybe he gets 160 targets in the Arizona Cardinals offense. Good. And, then, he has a higher ceiling. And he also had 10 touchdowns last year, more than McConkey. So, I'm fine kind of with either one. I just love Ladd McConkey, and I had to put him at 3 because he's done it.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so where are we at? We're at 4 now, right? So you already touched on Marvin Harrison Jr. I had Ted McMillan here. I think the volume's going to be there. You look at the Panthers' wide receiver room. I mean, look, McMillan kind of might have bumped his teammate Xavier Legette off this list. Him being in Carolina, maybe Legette wouldn't have made the list. I don't know. He's kind of a buy lowish for me right now.
I think the McMillan pick really helps Legette out because I
agree.
He's not a wide receiver 1 in the NFL.
No.
But I think he could be a pretty solid wide receiver 2. I think that's like his potential, is to be a pretty solid wide receiver 2. And when that with McMillan there, I think it lets the Panthers do what Legette does best with Legette. I think they can use him to his strength and not make him go out there and, be a pristine route runner. That's not Legette. He's not a, really technical route runner, but he's physical. He's got a lot of speed and strength, and they can use him like that across McMillan now where he's not going to have all the focus. So I do like this for Legette, but Legette's the wide receiver 2 there, and he's not the most incredible wide receiver 2 yet. So McMillan's going to get a ton of volume. I believe in Bryce Young and what we saw at the end of last season, which, McMillan could see, he should see over 120 targets this year. He could see 150 targets. And with that, could have a really big rookie season. He's also got a lot of height, so he could have like a Marvin Harrison Jr. kind of like 10 touchdowns his rookie season too.
Yeah, that's a good point. So then your 5 is Ted McMillan. You've already touched on him as a vibe, but my 5 is Rome Odunze.
Mm-hmm.
And look, here's another guy too, who I think, like Marvin Harrison Jr., probably didn't put up the stats that we expected him to last year. Another very respectful rookie season for a rookie wide receiver. He had 101 targets, so he was getting the ball chucked at him a lot. Only 54 receptions, 734 yards, and 3 touchdowns. So, Caleb Williams getting another year in the NFL. Ben Johnson coming in, I think, is going to be fantastic for not just the offense as a whole, but especially Caleb Williams. So I think Rome Odunze, man, stocks up. I know they have DJ Moore there. They have Luther Burden. They have Cole Kmet still and Colston Loveland. But I do think that Rome Odunze is going to be the man leading the charge in receiving for the Bears for years to come.
Yeah, I don't know if it's this year. I think DJ Moore is still good enough where he could be the wide receiver 1, but I think Rome Odunze is going to be very close. Like I could see DJ Moore having like 1,200 receiving yards and Rome Odunze just over 1,000, like being pretty close. What I'm really hoping for with Odunze and really the Bears offense as a whole is more touchdowns. 3 touchdowns last year when Rome Odunze is the contested catch guy that he is, it's just sad, to be quite honest. Like, this is a guy that can put up double-digit touchdowns in a season. I would love to see that for him. I mean, if he had 8 touchdowns last year and the same receptions and yards, we'd be talking about him a lot different. But because he was a little bit low in receptions and touchdowns, he didn't have the fantasy season that a lot of people were hoping he had. A lot of people were hoping the Bears had. So, but I'm a big fan of Rome Odunze. I love him, and I think whether it's this year or next year, I think he does become the wide receiver 1 for that team.
Where did Rome Odunze finish last year, wide receiver wise?
Do you know? I don't have that up. I want to say it was like around 50-ish.
He was 51. So you were
that was
damn right close. So if he would have got another 5 touchdowns, right? It's 8 instead of 3. That would have given him an extra 30 points. And that would have put him at 120.9, which would put him at wide receiver 36 on the season. So it would be a nice big jump. So let's see some more touchdowns out of Rome Odunze. That would have put him right after Quentin Johnston and right ahead of Keenan Allen.
Wow. What 2 guys to be in between?
I'm sorry, right below Alec Pierce and right ahead of Quentin Johnston. My apologies. So, yeah.
And is that in that was in not PPR? That was in standard scoring, I believe.
Oh, my fault. Yeah.
PPR is not going to help Odunze out any because he didn't get a lot of receptions. So that's okay. You can leave it there.
Yeah, my apologies. 49 in
we'll take it.
So then if we add, that would put him at 174.9. That would have made him wide receiver 40. I'm sorry, wide receiver 39 behind
with 5 more touchdowns.
Still ahead of Quentin Johnston.
There we go. Now we got to get him ahead of Quentin Johnston.
Yeah, by all means, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Right, so we like doing this, Nate. Before we head out, I want to let everyone know we're going to do running backs next week. And I kind of like doing this, to be honest with you. I think it's fun.
I do too.
Yeah, it's a good thing to do. Nate, do you have anything else you want to add before we head out?
Nope. Just make sure you go check out dynastyrewind.com. We got some new articles on there every week from our wonderful contributors at the staff at the Dynasty Rewind. Make sure you check them out. I know Zach's dropping one. He dropped one recently. He's got another one in the works. Our friend Dustin's working on stuff. We got Hoff, who's just releasing podcasts. It's all looking really good over there.
Yeah. Hats off to Zach and Dustin, really holding down the fort in the summer here. Dustin been making thumbnails and doing editing on our last couple videos, so he's been killing it there. I have an article in the works as well. It's going to be buy low players. It's my next article. Everybody loves a good buy low. Caveat, buy low may seem like an expensive price for some. Like, I know some people may not think that a second is a buy low, but in comparison to what they can get you get what I'm saying. So that's in the works. I've just been really busy. I hope to get back cracking on that again later this week. So until next time, everybody, check out the website, patreon.com/Dynasty Rankings. Nate and I are going to go record a bonus podcast, a members only podcast right now. So until then, everyone, for Nate, I'm Mike. Thanks for listening.